and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
What's happening, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, everybody watching online on YouTube, and happy Monday. This is the Early Bird Special. I am Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning.
Good morning.
Let them know what they're in for.
We've got a miscellaneous Monday. We'll definitely get into the first week of the NFL preseason. We'll get into some WNBA, some baseball, some random, just miscellaneous Monday. UFC has struck a deal, and it was a day after I turned off my Paramount account. We'll get into all sorts of stuff, but to kick it off, we are the Early Bird Special. And if you'd like to take part, or we've got more Brunch Fest tickets.
Absolutely. Plenty more tickets to give away.
Call or text in anytime, 661-842-2000. But first off, how was your weekend?
Not long enough.
Right.
Unfortunately, I had to work on Saturday, so the vast majority of my Saturday was busy. I tried to take Sunday off to, recuperate and recharge the battery. It's never long enough on a Sunday, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Plus, I mean, if you guys haven't figured it out by now, my weekends are very much filled with doing stuff for this show, cutting videos, hopefully making reels, which I am very behind on. I apologize for that. We are god awful when it comes to that. But it's just, it's a busy weekend, busy life for the kids. So we got to move on with it. And
we do have a busy week. Aside from today, we'll have KG tomorrow in his usual Tuesday slot. We'll have the 559 fight champ in here Wednesday. We'll welcome Hop back. I actually got to watch Weapons on my day off yesterday, which was, we'll get into a lot of that on Thursday, and we'll welcome back Chris Flell on Friday.
Absolutely. And for you wrestling fans, we are going to get into this Karrion Kross contract situation. It has moved into an awkward state. Apparently, the WWE has moved Karrion and his wife, Scarlett, to the alumni section of the website. This is not unprecedented, though, and I'll explain to you why I believe this is all going to be part of it. This is all part of the work, but you never know. It's the world of wrestling. Maybe they couldn't get the contract situation figured out, and they both decided, you know what, maybe the indies are a better spot for us. We'll see.
Or is it?
I am starting to believe, man, that this could be part of just the WWE's further just blurring of the kayfabe lines. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised that this is real and they have moved on from their contracts, because I have seen the WWE let go of a lot of fan favorite wrestlers over the years who go on to be absolute studs out in the indie scene. But at this point, it's hard for me to say that you walk away from somebody who's got the entire crowd chanting, "We want Cross."
Ever since you sent me that Paul Heyman video, which we'll get into a lot deeper into the second half of the show, I think I'm sold.
And honestly, watching that entire interview that Heyman did on the Ari Emanuel, I believe. Not Ari Emanuel. I can't remember the show right now, but it was a fantastic interview. Nothing but pleasant things to say about him, and he makes a very good point about it as well, which, again, we'll get to in the 8 o'clock hour when we get to our wrestling news. We got to talk football to start out this show, though, because it was a packed weekend of preseason football. I had a lot of fun watching some of it. Obviously, you can't take everything at face value, but some of the rookies look good, including Shedeur Sanders. A lot of people were kind of doubting that Shedeur was going to be able to go in there and actually look good against an NFL defense. Naturally, it was the Carolina Panthers, so how good you could chalk up this team is really up to you. He went 14 for 23, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. Looked pretty poised in the pocket. He made good decisions, although there were still a handful where you sat there and said, okay, you got to shake those off. Maybe that wasn't the best choice going forward. But at this point, I think that he is clawing ever further into at least the backup quarterback position. I know everybody's still freaking out because on their depth chart, he is seen as number 4 underneath Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. I'm going to believe, though, that Shedeur Sanders, with the work that he's going to put into this preseason, is most likely going to fit into that backup quarterback spot out there in Cleveland.
I would probably agree. We'll see more. Obviously, we want to base everything off the one preseason game against Carolina, but the kid looked good. I will give it to him.
And his brother looked good too in his game in Tampa Bay on Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember which day they played, but he had a couple key plays for them as well. I am happy to see the Sanders boys actually doing well. Now, there are other quarterbacks that didn't do so well. Quinn Ewers being one of them, did not look good in his debut yesterday for the Miami Dolphins. How'd you feel about your team going into yesterday, tying with the Chicago Bears at 24 apiece?
I don't buy too much into preseason. I did, I got up at 5:30, got down here, did my Sunday work, and was home ready for breakfast and some Dolphins football. I had the surround sound on. I was pumped. And then about 2-3 minutes left in the second quarter, I was like, all right, I'm going to catch up on some other long list of shows. But, personally, with all the bad talk that Miami recently gets, not recently, it's really every year, but seeing Tua come out and do the first drive, I was happy. He made a couple good throws. Really, A-Chain looked good. I was more surprised on how well the defense. I really think all the bad talk about the Dolphins secondary is true. They definitely need to get some more bodies in there, especially with Jones dropping in Friday's practice.
They looked active though.
The front seven is going to be tough.
100%.
And that was without Chubb, without Sealer, without Jalen Phillips. And, the big story was Friday, how our linebackers were fighting. And I got deeper into that story where it was actually our defensive coordinator. I guess, Tua had a bad practice, threw 3 picks. And what's the other running back we got? Madison had 2 fumbles. And
which, by the way, just throwing this in there, watching your guys' game, that rookie, Gordon, oh my God.
Yeah, that's one thing. Those running backs are going to get some work.
I'm going to call it right now that Gordon most likely takes over Madison's position.
I would hope.
I think Gordon could move into that backup behind A-Chain for you guys and be that power back because he showed a lot of promise yesterday.
That's what we definitely need is a power back. And Madison fumbled again during the game. And that's one thing is reason we moved on from Mostert. But Miami drove down the first drive, second drive, and got stalled up on the 1 yard line. And coach has got to learn that A-Chain and Jalen Wright aren't power backs. So I was happy to see Ollie do well. We also have that fullback that we've had for the last couple of years, didn't play. But I was happy. I think the defensive side, that front seven is going to be tough. But we didn't see Minka. We didn't see a couple of the corners play. And I think the corners really need some help, whether it's what was the other cornerback? There's several. There's Douglas out there, Rasul Douglas. There's still Gilmore. I think Miami will still move with another corner or two. But overall, I was happy from what I saw. It's still preseason. And that's one thing I was going to say is Shedeur had a hell of a game. There was some other quarterback rookies that looked well in the first week of preseason, but it is preseason.
Right. But I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be the next part about it is that there are some quarterbacks that kind of the jury's still out, right? Personally, I know a lot of people were excited about the Jackson Dart start for the Giants. I think it just looked better just because they won. It's the first game they've won in quite some time. But I think jury's still out when it comes to him as well. But how do you kind of feel about this entire move by some of these teams? Because it seems to me that every team is kind of approaching preseason in a different way. You got some of the teams like the Cincinnati Bengals and you guys, the Miami Dolphins, who decided to throw out your starters out there to make sure that they're getting the right reps and to get some momentum going for them. Then you have teams that aren't putting players in at all and are just sitting there saying, no, you're not going to see them, period, in preseason. Which strategy do you feel is going to work out better?
Oh, man, it's probably team-to-team type thing. I think Tua went out because of the rough practice on Friday. He wanted to shake it off. And, the rest of the number ones on offense for Miami, they didn't play. But I think teams like Cincinnati that have a history of starting off slow.
Mhm.
Hopefully that will benefit them in September. But, one thing was a head scratcher to me is Caleb Williams. Caleb coming into a new offensive scheme. I was expecting, a couple drives at least out of him. And I was more shocked that they didn't play him.
Honestly, the Caleb Williams thing building up right now, I'm shocked they didn't play him as well, but I'm not necessarily crazily surprised because Ben Johnson doesn't want to put his starting quarterback in any kind of position where he could potentially be injured, period. And honestly, I think they're more trying to build his confidence in practice than in game. Because from a lot of the videos that we've seen, especially of Caleb Williams in practice lately, it has not been pretty. Those net drills that they do looked very ugly, not to mention his demeanor afterwards being so frustrated with his poor play. It's not a good sign. And honestly, I heard this take over the weekend. I think it actually was said on Friday, but Jason McIntyre on the Colin Cowherd show made a very good point about how this is all really shaping up and looking for Caleb Williams going into year 2. It's a very scary sight, to be honest with you. And I'm going to let him speak before I continue my point.
The Bears are treating Caleb Williams like a rookie. So he has to unlearn everything he learned last year. Obviously, some of the videos are not great. The net missing video, not ideal, but I have a comparison that is kind of scary, but not off base, I think. Some pocket passing production from Caleb Williams. 24th in passer rating, 29th in yards per attempt in the pocket, 25th in completion percentage in the pocket. That's out of 34 quarterbacks, guys. And that's why my comparison, a little bit of Johnny football, some Johnny Manziel. And I just wonder if Caleb is so on edge in the pocket that the confidence is shot. And his default is, let me just tuck and run and see if I can make a play. Because that's what happened to Manziel, and he flamed out very quickly.
Ouch.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does.
It's starting to, like, when I heard this take, I never really put 2 and 2 together until I heard it, but he's absolutely right. The demeanor, the mental stability, all of this is really starting to look like Johnny football. And that's not a good thing. That's why I'm sitting here thinking, is Ben Johnson really going about this with Caleb Williams in the right way? Should you be treating him like a rookie quarterback? Or should you be using what he did last year as an example in growing his game? I'm sure they are. I'm not saying that they aren't, but instead of just completely washing it away, saying this is just going to be a new year for you, kid, use what happened last year as a learning tool and teach him, did that work for you? Did tucking and running to make more time for a play work out? No, it didn't, did it? Because obviously you're in the bottom 15 or bottom 10, really, in almost every statistical category as a starting quarterback in the NFL, being one of the most talented that we have seen. So clearly that didn't work for you. So let's change that. Let's fix that mindset. Just like we said on Friday when it came to Tua and Caleb Williams, a lot of their success this year is going to be based on their decision making and what they can do with the football in the pocket and not putting themselves and their body on the line to make a play. And right now, I don't think going into this next year, his sophomore season, pretty much thinking you're a rookie again is going to be a positive step forward.
Yeah, I don't see that as a positive step. I did hear from Ben Johnson after the game on the decision of not starting him in preseason. He said the kid worked his butt off in the joint practices, and they've set up a new thing where he comes out before kickoff and spends an hour just throwing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Ben Johnson. We know what kind of offensive mind he has, and I think McIntyre made a good point. I don't know if that's the best route to do with a rookie that has to learn a whole new system, but we'll see what we see. But it's still the Bears at the end of the day, and I'm kind of nervous. I would put him in that bottom 10 when I'm looking at fantasy quarterbacks, just because he needs to adapt. And it's kind of those dark clouds over when you bring in, when you see his mindset and get him frustrated with the accuracy. It could be a rough year, but we never know.
I'm still standing by what I said last week. You can go back and watch the video here, probably starting tomorrow. I'll probably have it up for you. But I still think Caleb Williams, his ceiling is a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I really do, just because of his abilities, the ability to run, the weapons he has on that team, like, and having Ben Johnson as your head coach is not going to be a bad thing for you as a quarterback. It's just not. But I just don't know if going into it with that kind of a mindset of wash away last year, don't just forget about it. I think you need to really address what happened last season and build his confidence, not only in his offensive line that they're going to protect him, but in his own decision making within the pocket. Tell him, dude, you're going to make the right throws. You're going to make the right reads. You just have to give yourself time up here to do that.
Where he doesn't get happy feet.
Exactly. Because I think that's where a lot of this is going to stem from. And that's what McIntyre is really pointing out, right? Johnny Manziel, when he was with Cleveland, had no offensive line. And although he was a very talented runner in college, it's a completely different game in the NFL. And you can't run that fast, or you really can't run that long as a quarterback. It just won't work out for you. So when he really lost the mental stability within the pocket and thought every single play, I have to run, we don't need, like, we really don't want that to happen to a talent like Caleb Williams, because if that's the case, it's going to look ugly very, very quickly. And you're not going to be able to fix somebody's mental stability like Caleb Williams, because as we've already seen, or at least as evidence has shown, he's one of the most least, I don't want to say stable, but strong.
Yeah, when he gets in his head.
Yeah, he's in his head entirely too much sometimes. And it's a thing with like young players. I'm not sitting here saying that it's something that you can't explain or excuse, but at this point in his career, I don't feel like he's mentally mature enough to really bounce back from a really, really bad second year. I just don't. I think later, and in that route, it kind of reminds me of Baker Mayfield, because when Baker came in, there was a lot of woes around what he was doing with Cleveland. And then when he was able to leave, go to a different team, and then regain that confidence with the Rams as a starting quarterback, that's when you saw Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, maybe that's what he needs.
Right.
Maybe
And
Ben Johnson can clear his mind and get him back to, what we expect.
that's
out
what
of
the
Caleb.
hope is, I think. But I don't know if going into this season thinking it's his rookie year is going to help do that. But who am I to say? Ben Johnson knows more about football than I will forget. So we will take a break, though. On the other side, we got plenty more football to talk about. Plus, we got to talk about baseball as well, as we inch ever closer to the playoffs. And yep, Sparky's Seattle team here, along with Cal Riley, is just on fire going into the playoffs. We will talk about that and much more right here on the Early Bird Special, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. A couple more games that we have to highlight before we jump out of the world of football. Unfortunately, my Falcons fall to the Lions 17-10 as the game was ended early after a very serious injury to safety Morris. That's who they were playing.
I was wondering who Atlanta played.
It was the Lions. I got to watch the game. It was a pretty good game from both sides. But again, the serious injury really just kind of pushed everybody to say, you know what, let's just wrap this up. We got a good 3-4 quarters of football. There's no reason to continue. And it was a very serious neck injury that they needed to address. It took them a while to get him off the field. And even then, there were moments where they didn't even turn off the clock. I mean, it was a real mix up of a situation, but glad to see that Morris is back in the facility. So it was a very serious injury, or serious and scary injury. I apologize, but it has.
I like that word better.
Moved. Yeah, right. Mix everything together.
Like
That's what millennials do. Other games that we can highlight as well. The Patriots absolutely whomped the Commanders 48-18. Although you can't take a whole ton of these games to heart because it is preseason, that is a great step forward for the Patriots, and also brings up a very curious thought that Stephen A. Smith had on Friday that I wanted to bounce off you as well about the Commanders. But are the Commanders really in trouble? Are they the team that really everybody should be concerned about to take a massive step back, or at least a stunt where they fall flat on their face after a great year one from Jaden Daniels? I do believe they are one of those teams that are on the hot seat in that area, just because, again, you've heard me say it a billion times the last week and a half alone, sophomore slump. It happens every single time. Every single time. That's why I don't expect much from Jaden Daniels this year. That's why I don't expect much from Bo Nix this year. To be honest with you, I don't expect much from Michael Penix this year. But that's just kind of how things go. But let's hear from Stephen A. Smith real quick, and I want to get your thoughts on the other side, my friend.
I say, who you got most at risk of underperforming this season?
My answer to this question is the Commanders.
Ooh, child. Monica, you okay?
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry.
I'm not.
I'm sorry, Terry. I didn't see the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game last year. I saw Jaden Daniels and the Commanders in the NFC Championship game last year. I know they got romped by 30 by the Philadelphia Eagles because their rookie quarterback was really the only dude who showed up. But he showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
And so what happens now? You've got this star quarterback as a rookie who finished 7th in league MVP voting, who's coming into this season projected as a top 5 MVP candidate. And what's your problem? Your star wide receiver, McLaurin, you can't get him signed.
Oh, my God.
And you got this other cat, Noah Brown, who's injury prone. Remember, he missed the last 4 games last year, plus the playoffs with that lacerated kidney. So with that going on, and you've got, this is your primary weapon, your star, who you've prioritized protecting, but you're compromising potentially his assets that are going to be available to him because you know you got bills to pay over the next 3 years, and you're trying to get McLaurin under the 30 million threshold, okay? You won an NFC Championship game last year, which means that the only team that was standing in front of you in the Super Bowl was the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. Now you've got Matthew Stafford with the back.
Yep.
You got Jared Goff in Detroit worried about losing both coordinators. Okay, you got Chicago on to come up, but how much? You got Jordan Love, who's still a question mark, not his skill set, but his mindset in terms of showing up in big moments. We all know the Cowboys got a black cat, anything waiting to happen. We wait for that. So it's a prime opportunity for the Washington Commanders to find themselves back in a pole position, or at least in a position where they're competing with the Philadelphia Eagles for supremacy within the NFC. But finances is getting in the way of prioritizing, securing everything for your star pupil, which is your quarterback. I think the answer to this question is the Commanders.
He's right. Realistically speaking, you left last year as the number 2 team in the NFC. And there's only one team that should be better than you this year, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked about it when we broke down the NFC East. I don't expect much difference out of the NFC East in terms of their lineup this year. Your records are going to be vastly different, and I'll explain why I believe Dallas is going to be a little bit worse here in a couple minutes, because I was not excited from what I saw from them against the Rams this weekend. But do you believe that the Commanders might be the number 1 team right now to underperform, especially after what we saw in week 1 of the preseason?
I mean, even without preseason, I think there is a big target on Washington, and it's going to be tough for Jaden to take that step forward. But I mean, I think Stephen A just hit it on the point, and I really desperately rarely agree with Stephen A, especially when it comes to football.
Mhm.
But I think you just hit it. I think there's a big target on Washington, and you say it almost every week. It's the sophomore slump. I do think we'll get a better Bo Nix. I still think there's other back or number two. Like I think Penix could be a hell of a sleeper this year. That's why he was on our sleeper list. But I'm probably agree 100% with what we can expect out of Washington this year.
I think Washington is a team that everyone should look at to be an underperformer, not because of anything major outside of the sophomore slump. I just don't know what we're going to get out of Jaden Daniels. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of the Vikings. Jury's still out for me. If you watch the Vikings Texans game, JJ McCarthy really only played for a series or two, went 4 for 7 with 30 yards. Solid contributor, but again, I need to see more from him against a starting lineup to be able to say if he's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I think right now, after watching yesterday, the Cowboys are a team that's really in danger of underperforming, especially if you can't get Micah Parsons to sign his deal. If you watch that game yesterday against the Rams,
They need him.
they need him. They need him bad. And again, it's preseason, so take it with a grain of salt. Don't get me wrong. But when Stetson Bennett goes 16 for 24 with 188 yards and 2 touchdowns on you, plus 3 or 4 of their running backs running all over your defense, it doesn't look good. It really doesn't. So, and it's not necessarily the players on the field that don't look good. It's the schemes and how the team looks as a whole. It's how organized they are and how well they play off of each other. That's usually what you want to see in the preseason. Much like we saw from Chicago's defense, they looked active, they looked ready to play, and they looked energized when going against the Miami Dolphins. And that, I think, is what really led to Chicago having a great game outside of their two or the quarterback play that really led to the tie game, if you really want to know the truth. But when you look at teams like the Cowboys, I didn't see that from them. I didn't see that readiness to play, that readiness to get into the regular season and have that fire as soon as you come out. So that's why I'm starting to believe that not only the Commanders, but the Cowboys are two of those teams that might be underperformers this year. That's not a good thing if you're a fan of either of these teams at all. Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we got to talk about this entire thing with the MLB and a female umpire coming in, how everybody's feeling about it. This is the 7th time in the MLB's history that we've gotten a female umpire. I think it's a great thing, and I personally welcome Jen Powell. I think she did a great job outside of her first pitch being a missed call. But we'll just wave that off. We'll wave it off. She's a rookie. It's okay. We'll take a break real quick, pay some bills. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. ESPN Bakersfield. We're also streaming live on our YouTube channel. You can watch us every single day from 7 to 9. And I have to tighten myself up because I misspoke a little bit before we went to break. Jen Powell is the first ever Major League Baseball umpire to be female. She's the 7th to try. There were 7 others that have tried, first since 2007 to make it up to a certain height, but she is the first ever female to actually umpire a game in the majors. She did a fantastic job. And honestly, anybody but Angel Hernandez. Anybody but Angel Hernandez, I will gladly welcome you into the fold. I'm happy to see more human umpires. I know a lot of people are not happy about the increase in technology in sport, in baseball specifically, for some reason. Don't know why. You guys really got to get over that. But let's hear from Jen real quick on the dream coming true of becoming a MLB umpire.
The dream actually came true today, and I'm still living in it. And I'm just so grateful to my family, to Major League Baseball for just creating such an amazing work environment, to the umpires that I work with, who we have just amazing camaraderie, and we're having fun out there. We're working hard, but we're having fun, and I'm just so thankful.
She has started in her umpiring. I'm not sure how to actually, but what word I would say to that. She started umpiring back in 2015, 2016 for the MLB, has officiated over 1,200 games in the minors. And this is just the first step in a very long career, most likely for her. Again, personally, I think she did a fantastic job. I think this was a great step forward for baseball. What were your thoughts, my friend? Did you get to watch
I
it
didn't
all?
catch any of it, but I watched Sports Center. I was happy for her. I was surprised that she was the first, but she did a hell of a job. I was surprised that it just really took that long.
Yeah, I feel like baseball obviously has had its misogynistic areas, right? We have a whole movie based on it, but it is one of those areas that I kind of agree with you. When it comes to officiating, it's always surprised me that it's taken this long to get women officiating in all men's sports. We just heard this milestone has been broken a couple times now in the last decade or and a half, really, with the NFL having female referees now, the NBA having female referees and female coaches. I don't see an issue with it at all. I don't really understand some of the uprising on the internet. I know there's always more negative on the internet than there is positive, but I think this is a great step forward for baseball. And it's one of those situations where I don't see an issue with it.
Nah.
As long as you got good eyes and you can command the game itself, you can run it and you won't lose sight of how to be a referee or an umpire. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care, male or female, as long as you're doing your job right and you've got the right training. It was almost the same thing with, I didn't know it was the first woman play-by-play announcer during the Dolphins-Bears game. And they said, we've had, on the field commentating, but she did the whole game. And congratulations. That was a big step. And I think when it comes to baseball, it should be a welcome right into the league.
I think it is, honestly. You hear every other umpire that was part of it that just was excited to be there. You know what I mean? Like everybody was excited to be part of history and moving forward with this inclusivity in baseball. I think it's something, like you just said, was long overdue. And again, anybody but Angel Hernandez. Anybody but Angel Hernandez. I really do not care. As long as that man does not come back, I'll take your blind uncle. I really will, because he will at least know what a strike looks like.
Bring in the robots.
Some other interesting baseball stories we got to talk about. Justin Verlander reached a pretty cool high in his mind, at least. 3,500 strikeouts, unfortunately, came in an 8-0 loss to the Washington Nationals. And his season continues to slump as he is 1 for 9 on the season, has still yet to win a second game since we talked about it earlier. In 20 starts, almost a 5 ERA for the superstar. He's only 11 strikeouts away from being 9th all time in the majors. But do you think that it's kind of time for Justin to retire?
You would think.
I mean, it's not him. Don't get me wrong. His play is still somewhat there. I know the ERA doesn't speak for it, but the Giants have been awful, especially in the last stretch. They have been awful. It has not gone very well for them lately. So I don't necessarily blame Justin Verlander for his poor performance this year, although age catches up to us all. But do you see this being Justin's last year? And if so, do you think it's a good or a bad thing when athletes go down or at least retire after such poor performances?
I mean, it's probably, I mean, your highlights were earlier in the career. So, I mean, he's had a long career and he's hitting these milestones. We talked about it when he hit the last one, but I think Verlander will go out as one of the best, as he should.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, overall, it's just stats.
No, I get that, but it's more my question is more because obviously every athlete wants to go out, right? Like we said the other day, riding on your white horse, with a championship in hand, right? Everybody wants to go down as a king like Tom Brady and all these other guys do. But it's not going to happen for everybody, right? That's why I'm kind of wondering if Justin doesn't come back for one more year just solely to wipe away this poor performance. He probably won't come back and play for the Giants. Yeah. He'll probably maybe rejoin with the Tigers or somebody if they're willing to sign him and get a chance at a championship somewhere along the line, or maybe just convince the Giants to release him so he can go sign with somebody who's a contender. But it's one of those situations where I'm starting to look at it saying it might be time for you to retire, but at the same time, do you even want to retire this way? Because as an athlete, personally, I don't think I would. I really don't. I think I would sit there and say, nah, I'm going to give it one more year and at least try to get 500, because 1-9 and 20 starts with a 5 ERA for somebody who's one of the best pitchers to ever take the mound, in my opinion. I don't know if that's a great way to end your career. I really don't, but that's just my personal opinion.
We see that a lot in all sports. I mean, we're trying to pump up Aaron Rodgers that probably should have took a step away last year, but they're competitive. They're competitors, and they're always going to continue to leave on that white horse. And no one else, or not everybody, is Tom Brady.
Right. And honestly, I think that's a good comparison, is we're going to see a lot of that with the Pittsburgh Steelers this year and Aaron Rodgers. It's like, can you really come back to being that quarterback that they really want you to be? Because that's what they're going to need from you to make it and win a championship. You're going to have to be somewhat close to the Aaron Rodgers of old. Are you still that Aaron Rodgers? And this is a good comparison because both of them are generational talents, really, and are going to go down as Hall of Famers when you really boil it down. But are they trying to stretch this a little too long? You know what I mean? Not every athlete can be a LeBron James or a Tom Brady, where you go out essentially as good as you came in. But it's one of those situations where I kind of hope he doesn't quit after this year, because I want to see Justin Verlander at least come back to some sort of relevancy as a baseball fan. I really do. It's rough for me to see a guy like Justin get beat up this much on a team like the Giants, who, granted, didn't have a lot of expectation this year to come in and be great, but I at least expect you to be competitive. And it has not been the case, at least since halfway through the season. I don't know exactly where it all went wrong. Maybe Rafael Devers is the problem.
Speaking of baseball, how about the Mariners, baby?
Cal Riley getting his 45th home run yesterday. Dude,
7 in a row.
Is he going to reach that number, though? We're running low on games. He hasn't fizzled out, but he has definitely slowed down since the All-Star break, as every baseball player does. Don't get me wrong. It's a long season, and we all realize that you can't do what you do forever. I'm just hoping guys like Kyle Schwarber get a little bit of a nod on the NL side of this for having better stats than Shohei Ohtani, but who's counting?
Now he's tied with Griffey.
I want him to get to 60. I want him to get to 60 so bad.
I just want him to get past the Astros.
Well,
and now they're a half a game out.
You're making the necessary steps. Julio is getting hot at the right time. Cal obviously still slugging as much as he can. Eugenio is on. Well, he's back in the lineup, I should say. We'll see what happens with him here going forward. Hopefully he can pick up his bat again and hit as well as he did with Arizona. I am very hopeful for your team as well, but as a Philadelphia Philly fan who is well into the chase as well, nobody beats my team. So it is what it is. Bryce Harper is here to go. And actually, that's the other story that I wanted to get to too, or at least mention real quick because I thought it was funny. If you saw it over the weekend, Matt Strom is asking all fans who collect baseball cards naturally to sell or send him any rare or like prime baseball cards of Bryce Harper, because apparently Bryce Harper is trying to create or build a collection of his own memorabilia. And this is the question I wanted to ask you, because that's what really popped off in my head about this. It's not necessarily that Bryce is collecting his own memorabilia, but you as a collector, my friend, if you were an athlete, would you be collecting your own, or would you be doing like the Giannis Antetokounmpo and collecting something of somebody else, ergo a Victor Wembanyama?
Probably both.
Really?
I mean, ideally, if I was a Bryce Harper type player, I mean, I've ran into, former football players or, former baseball players, and they didn't ever collect their own stuff, and then they kick themselves in the head because when it's over, they're like, man, I wish I would have. I wish I could have, with whether it was a game worn jersey or, how crazy the collecting world is with cards where they have, a piece of the bat on a certain game and they didn't keep it. They just, left it to Upper Deck or they left it to Tops. And I think it's cool.
I was racking my head around this because I can't tell if you bringing in your own memorabilia is a sense of just being so vain about yourself that I really don't know if I could get behind it. But then again, there are situations like the wrestlers who, like Dominic Mysterio, who was just sold, I believe, his 1-of-1 Topps card or whatever the other day by a fan. I think it's cool to have that. Like if you have like a 1-of-1, I think you have to have it because it's you. It's yours. But like collecting a whole like thing of all yourself, I don't know. Like there's like a sense of just I don't know if I could reach that sense of just like full of myself.
Well, it's like that Golden Show on Netflix when, they try to collect the 1-of-1s and
Right.
they'll reach out to, for example, Bryce Harper or Peyton Manning on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, dude, I wish I had that. I wish I had that. And they're just so deep into the game and training, and they miss out that opportunity. And it almost goes back to the wrestling show where, Ric Flair talks about, all his fur coats and, how he just partied his way out of those, prime years.
Oh yeah, because at that time, all you're thinking about it as is a costume or
And he
something
runs in.
a piece of clothing that you have. Just like any of us, you wouldn't expect the shirt off your back to be worth a couple $1 million.
But you see how emotional they get when they get back into it. And he's like, yeah, this is mine. I remember this. And I left it in this hotel with this bartender or whatever.
In the sense of just that's fair. And to have all of that, I guess, would bring back the nostalgia factor to all of it. So yeah, I guess that's true too. That's a good way to look at it. I don't know. The vanity part of it to me is really what would pull me away, but I try not to be that kind of a person. I just feel like there would come with a sense of, oh, you're so full of yourself. You know what I mean?
You were there, fool.
Yeah. It's like, why do you need it? You were there. You lived it. It's like, true, but it's like putting it up in a museum. How valuable is it to really keep or to put it up for historical purpose? You know what I mean?
It should go to the fans.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird gray area. Text in 661-842-2000. What do you guys think? If you were an athlete, would you collect your own memorabilia like people like Bryce Harper? Or would you collect memorabilia of other athletes that you played with or maybe you idolized? That I'm all for, to be honest with you. But at the same time, do you think it's kind of vain to collect all of that of yourself if you were an athlete? What are your guys' thoughts? 661-842-2000. Text in. You might actually win a pair of tickets to Brunch Fest if you're in the Bakersfield area. And trust me, you want to go to this if you have a significant other or if you just want to go with a friend. It is a fantastic event that will get you full and drunk at the same time. It's one of the best things that you can do here in Bakersfield. I'm telling you, everybody loves to drink. Everyone does. So it is what it is. We got to take a break real quick. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield.
We are the early bird special, and to go over some WNBA. Asia Wilson, 32 points, career high, tying 20 rebounds as the Aces get the win 94-86 over the Sun and achieving the first ever 30-plus point, 20-plus rebound game in WNBA history.
Dude, we've had incredible highs and milestones broken in the WNBA this year. First 30 and 20 game. First woman to have, I think, back-to-back triple doubles, if I'm not mistaken. Caitlin Clark is, I believe, the first basketball player, youngest to average 20 and 10 or something like that in the league. And yet all major networks really talk about is this stupid sex toy thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. There was pictures released of the guy who I think threw it at the Liberty game, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, with the Beavis and Butthead T-shirt. Well, that's my first question, right? And I don't mean to make this sound like a slight or a joke, but there are cameras everywhere in these stadiums, everywhere. I know you could tell and find the guy who threw it or the girl, whoever it is. So you cannot sit there and tell me that you could not find them that day. How many people could have possibly been at this game? How many people could have possibly been in that area in this game?
Right, where it comes from.
How many people are constantly going to keep their mouth shut when they just saw a guy throw a sex toy onto the court? So you cannot sit there and tell me that people didn't see this guy leave.
Yeah, where it came from.
Come on. And again, my question continues as well from last week. How'd you get it in?
Right.
He wasn't wearing a hoodie, Sparky. He didn't have a hoodie on. How did you get it in? Where did you hide it? How did security not see you?
That's the number one thing for me is how is it getting by security?
Unless you're putting it,
especially when it's one of the biggest stories on ESPN for the last 3-4 weeks already. And they've got bets on it. We talked about it. We wrapped up the week last week talking about, a crypto group trying to claim that they started it.
Yeah, they're orchestrating.
Which I talked to some financial advisors, and I think it's just genius marketing.
I think
nobody's going to claim it. Screw it.
Yeah.
Well, we got stories all over ESPN, CBS, everywhere. Even the news departments were talking about it on Friday. And I mean, it's genius marketing, whether you had anything to do with it or not. We always say bad publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
But yes, overall, when these players are, breaking records and, trying to gain more attendance, money. And this is when you think of WNBA, whether you're a fan or not, this is the headline we've talked about for weeks.
It's the craziest thing about it, though, right? Like, they have done everything right. These athletes are stepping up. They're playing better. I mean, we're finally getting some traction in the league. And the biggest story is this, right? And I agree with you. I do believe that this is just a crypto group jumping on this. Like, they probably weren't the orchestrator. They probably had I don't know, until the first person comes out and claims to be part of this group, the guy or the person that they arrested, or the 18-year-old that they arrested as well. Like, until either of them came out and said, yeah, I was either paid by this group or am part of this group, and we're just trying to get marketing going forward that way, I'm not going to believe it, especially since this crypto group came forward to ESPN and wanted to remain anonymous.
Of course.
Really? No person I know, period, that runs or is part of a company that's trying to gain exposure ever wants to be anonymous. That when they started it, would they want credit?
Unless you're Exotic Kitty.
I mean, yeah, or something of that stupidity. Or if they're that worried that the WNBA is going to sue them for this or something, which I think is actually a possibility as well. I don't think people are really taking that into consideration, that you could really be sued for this. I think at some point,
jail time.
We got to get Kyle Jones in here at some point to talk to him, because I would love to hear if there's actually some legal ramifications for this.
I don't want to ask him that.
I kind of do. I want to know. I'm like, dude, like, can the WNBA sue? Like, is there a way to, like, or at least obviously there are legal ways for them to punish these fans through like arresting them at the stadium, but is there any legal way they can go about suing the company if this is proven to be true, that this is all orchestrated by them?
And we got a different color.
Oh, did they change the color?
They changed the color in the last one.
Oh, so what I heard is right is purple or something like that.
Yep.
Oh,
And
good
that
Lord.
we talked about it on Friday. The MGM and Vegas odds. They have the Bet MGM, and it was actually a prop bet last week.
Oh my God. And see, that's the other thing. Vegas won't even put prop bets up about the actual game. We're more worried about the sex
color.
toy that's going to be thrown on the court. What is wrong with America?
Right.
What is wrong with this? I swear, we got to take a break real quick. We got plenty more to talk about on the other side. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m., 101.1 FM. And don't forget, go follow us on YouTube and all of socials as well at the Early Bird Special. Subscribe. There's plenty to check out on there. We will be right back. Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m., 101.1 FM, and streaming online on YouTube at the Early Bird Special. Go check it out, subscribe, all that type of good stuff.
Aside from the sex toys and the WNBA, what do you think was the craziest thing to happen since Friday in all
Over the
sports?
weekend? The 70-yard field goal.
I was like,
The
feel free,
70-yard field goal, baby.
call or text in. You want to win a pair of tickets to Brunch Fest? Text it in 661-842-2000. But yeah, the 70-yard field goal, which obviously doesn't count as the record.
Sucks though. This is 2 years now, back to back. Though we've seen a kicker break that record in the preseason.
Do you remember what the record is?
I believe it's 65.
66.
Is it 66
From
right
Tucker.
now? Oh, that's right. Tucker has it. I remember Tucker broke it, but I couldn't remember if he was 65 or what the number was. Regardless,
I think he broke his 65, which was his record in the first place.
right.
Well, 70 yards is just insane.
Cam Little with a 70-yarder. I mean, if you're a fantasy football guy, I know nobody really picks kickers like that, but you can't go wrong with a guy who can lay 60, 70 yards. I mean,
those are good points for
ooh,
fantasy.
I don't even know how much you would get for a 70-yard field goal.
I believe you get 7.
I think there should be a point. I know we talk about this in the NBA a lot with the 3-pointer. I think if a kicker kicks a ball from 60 plus, it should be 4 points. Come on.
No way.
You're locking in a 70-yarder. You tell me that should be worth the exact same as someone who's knocking in a 30?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yep.
Absolutely not. No, that should be about at least a point more. Come on. 70
Oh, because
yards.
remember, what was it, Dempsey that used to kick him with half of his foot, and the NFL got all crazy about it because he had metal in his foot.
Yeah, and
like,
obviously that's a little bit of a help there. I
Come on.
on.
Then you're talking like NBA Jam, and
Maybe that's the next step for kickers. Maybe instead of steroids, they have to put metal plates in their foot. Who knows? I mean, if there's a
cleats.
McAfee show today, he's going to be going off about this kick. You know that.
Was it as crazy as CeeDee Lamb getting ran over by a ref?
That was funny, but unfortunately, I've been on both sides of that when it comes to CeeDee Lamb's situation. I've been the one that's been ran over because I'm celebrating with my team on the sideline, and I've been the one running somebody over on the sideline because I was a coach. It is not fun either way. I'm sure the referee felt terrible about it, but he's got to do his job and
give him his penalty.
Thank God
That he's
CD
all right.
didn't get hurt.
Right.
Because if CD got hurt, not only is that referee out of a job, probably, even though he was just trying to do his job, and CD's the one who got in the way. But the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, we're already talking about them being an underperformer potentially, especially if you don't get the Micah Parsons thing figured out. It'd be even worse if you lost CeeDee Lamb, especially right when the season begins. Yeah, with a back injury.
And CeeDee Lamb's getting carted off.
But see, our luck, he's going to come out in game 2 and play a little bit. He'll jump up for a ball and tweak his back, and then here we go. Now we're all going to be talking about it again. Was it the hit? Was the referee the one who did it?
So is it as crazy as a 70-yard field goal, CeeDee Lamb getting trucked by a ref, or was it the Geno Max Crosby getting into it with the fan flipping him off? I mean, I saw the sign.
Come on, man. That's good old-fashioned. That's good old-fashioned Raider football.
Right?
If you don't see a finger at Raider football, what are you doing?
Right.
That's not true football for Las Vegas or Oakland.
I mean, the sign said, is it a bigger bust, Geno or Jamarcus?
That was wild.
I mean, that's low.
That was wild.
That's low.
That was a little wild. But again, fan of the opposing team. This isn't a Raider fan flashing that at you.
Yeah, it's the Seahawks. He was a former Seahawks. So.
To be honest with you, I don't blame Geno or Max. I actually I liked Max Crosby getting behind his quarterback and doing it too. I honestly, if I'm part of that Raiders team, I would have done it too. Now you're probably going to get fined for it, and the only ones that are going to be able to afford that fine are Geno and Max Crosby. But at this point, you got to back your quarterback, and that's good old-fashioned Raider football, baby. I'd expect to see some ugliness. If you don't see a couple fingers, hear a couple F-bombs, I'm not in the right place. This isn't the dome, or this isn't the black hole that it used to be. But then again, I was kind of explaining that to my friend yesterday, that going to a game in Vegas is probably vastly different than going to a game at the black hole.
Oh yeah, I've been to Oakland for a game.
Have you?
It's insane, but it's not as bad as everyone says. As long as you can hold your alcohol and you're not acting like a fool.
That, and you're not a rival team, because again,
Yeah.
it's a different situation if you're walking in as a Niner fan, you know what I mean, than if you're walking as a Dolphins fan.
We're a Bay, yeah, and we beat the living crap out of them. So I was more nervous leaving than going.
That's why I actually like going to games at Levi Stadium as a Falcons fan, because I don't get bothered like that, much like you were just talking about. Like, I'll go in with my jersey. I'll get grief. Don't get me wrong. And the old school fans, like my godfather, who is now passed, rest in peace, would give me grief as well, because those of you who have been watching or have been alive long enough know that the Atlanta Falcons at one point were part of the NL West and were a rival to the Niners for a long time. So obviously there's a little bit of, fun rivalry animosity there, but it's never been like hateful. Although you can look up and obviously see every fight in the stands as you're watching the game, which is hilarious because all it looks like is a swarm of bees to one area. But when you walk in as a rival, like, I could not imagine walking into a 49er game with a Rams jersey on. You know what I mean? Like, or vice versa, walking into SoFi as a Niner fan. It has to be a whole different kind of hatred. It really, truly does. So
I think it's probably the division, obviously, but different crowds, man. Going to a Charger game in LA, I thought I was at a Dolphin game.
Yeah, it's because there's no real Charger fans.
Right? but I've seen worse
Sorry,
at the
Tyson.
old Niners stadium. We watched a Dolphin game and they were obnoxious. And I'm like,
Well,
man,
okay.
this is just let us watch the damn game. We're already getting our butt whooped. Just calm
Right.
down.
To be fair, though, going to a Charger game right now at SoFi is not really fair because they lost half of the fan base when they left San Diego.
The other
And
half.
yeah, it hasn't really rekindled itself at all.
When we went to San Diego for the games, it was more of the military base guys
Right.
that were just happy to get out and go watch a football game. So they
Right.
were all kicked back. We had a great time with Charger fans. But speaking of the Rams, Stafford finally is coming back to camp today. And Sean McVay said over the weekend that he's been throwing 70 passes a day and that he doesn't expect the back injury to be as concerning as the media is putting it out. But it's a back injury. We got into that last week on how serious a back injury is, especially to a quarterback that's, throwing 40, 50 balls a game. But I also think, there was major injuries over the weekend, but really the one that stood out was the Eagles Pro Bowl guard. I can't talk on Monday, but the Pro Bowl guard that went down yesterday, and it looks like he might be out for the season, and that's going to be a major hit for a returning Super Bowl offensive line.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's any offensive line that could probably mend itself and figure it out, it's going to be Philadelphia, right? I mean, we said the same thing when they lost when they lost Jason Kelsey to retirement. No one really thought they would be able to return to form. They got Saquon Barkley in there and they made it look really, really easy. It's unfortunate you see the injuries go down and stuff like that, but I'm not that worried about Philadelphia's offensive line taking a step back. I am more worried about the Rams and this whole Matthew Stafford situation, as I said last week. Although, yes, I might be blowing smoke into it and it may not be that big of a deal, to be completely honest. But knowing how back injuries work, knowing how all of this is connected, and to be honest with you, if it's anything somewhat serious, I get that they don't think it's that serious, but if it's tweaked at all, if it is a lingering injury and it's so lingering that you had to go get an epidural to mask the pain, that doesn't seem like something that's not serious.
Yeah, that's not something you want to hear in August.
Right. It's a slip disc. Like, it is something that could get worse. So that's my only concern when it comes to Matthew Stafford. I'm happy to see him back at practice, obviously. And for a Rams fan, you have to be ecstatic to see it. Even though Stinson Bennett did look good against the Cowboys, I just don't know if it is a safe step forward. You have to take this one step at a time. And I'm not saying that they're going to go full bore here. He's going to get hit by every defensive player he can. They're not going to touch him. It's still football and still football practice. But it's just, it worries me. It really, really does. I don't think you see Matthew Stafford, though, until week 1 of the season.
Yeah. And positive news, Maurice Norris, that we talked about his injury, that they had to end the game early after he was taken out for with an ambulance with that neck injury. He is back in the Lions facility this morning. So all things good. Obviously, if you watch the replay,
Form tackling.
I was going to say something
I'm
similar,
just
but
going to say that. Form tackling. And again,
not how you want to tackle someone.
No, it's unfortunate. Again, it's one of those scary injuries that happen in football all the time. You never want to see it. You never want it to happen, but these things happen when two guys are running at each other at full speed and one of them stops their feet unknowingly to make a play. Sometimes it doesn't work out for you, and that's what happened here. Luckily, he is back in the facility. It doesn't seem that the injury is going to be that serious. Hopefully, we'll see him back at some point in the preseason or in the regular season. But for the Detroit Lions, I think that's a good sign because, to be honest with you, you want to talk about a team that's been hit by the injury bug. Let's not forget that they played dang near all of last season without half of their defense, including their number 1 defensive player. I hate to see teams like this that have such high potential get dinged up because of injuries so early. And honestly, with the team like Detroit, who not only are probably going to deal with the injury bug again, but you're going out this season with 10 coaches now gone. That's not a great sign if you're a Detroit Lions fan.
I talked to a Lions fan over the weekend. He was so pissed about how the media keeps continuing to highlight how many coaches are gone. And he's like, dude, it's not like they took the players. said, yeah, but they take the scheme. And he said, it doesn't matter, man. I mean, it does, but not to the point where they think that the Lions are going to underperform or go down. He said, 22 players on IR last year.
Mhm.
We're getting all those guys back too. We'll see. But another freak injury over the weekend, which I wanted to throw in just as we're wrapping up this segment. But Hall of Fame Yankee closer, Mariano
I didn't
Rivera.
know if we were going to talk about this.
I just saw the highlights this morning. He was playing in the first old timers game since 2019 and tore his Achilles while chasing a fly ball in center field. I felt bad. I mean, the guy's 55 years old, probably shouldn't be running around like that. But I mean, just seeing him hit the ground, I was like, dude, he is seriously injured. And it was kind of tough to see, but
I hate seeing injuries in games like this because you're right. Like it makes you wonder if they should really even be doing it in the first place. I love seeing games like this though because of just the content you can get out of them. I mean, there were multiple videos that came out of this, including Mariano like walking out to the field and tipping his cap to everybody as he got a standing ovation. But like there were really bad calls by the umpire at points in which got stare downs from old legends from the Yankees, which was hilarious. I just it's baseball and it's how things roll when you get older, man. Your body can't hold up to what it used to. And let's be honest, Mariano, he had no reason to be in the outfield. Yeah, maybe you a pitcher. Like, come on, you're a 55-year-old pitcher. You don't need to be chasing no pop fly in the outfield.
he wasn't doing that in his prime. He should be
Exactly.
doing it at
Ain't
55.
No reason you to be out there, my guy. I know you were trying to play the game and just be a part of the team, and I appreciate that about you. But let's be honest, you shouldn't have been out there.
I mean, I'm 40, and that's why we stopped talking about the flag football league.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't
you
want
quickly learned that it may not be the right choice, huh?
I heard myself getting up. So we'll take a break. I want to bounce something off Burdick and you guys. So we play fantasy regularly, but I've kind of opening the door for this franchise dynasty type fantasy. If you've ever played in a dynasty league, please let me know if I should jump off the cliff and jump into this, or just keep winning championships in the regular leagues, because PPR seems much easier. And when you're working multiple jobs and you get up at 4 a.m, I don't know if we have the time to play this type of league, but I'll run down some of these rules in the Dynasty League and you could tell me right here on the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. I thought this was. I had to make sure for a second. I was like, what the heck is- Welcome back to the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m., 101.1 FM, and streaming live on YouTube and Twitch at the Early Bird Special.
And as we brought up last Friday for our first Fantasy Friday, we ran down quarterbacks. This Friday, we'll run down running backs. It'll be a lot cheaper list than the 10 quarterbacks that we ran down. But we're fantasy degenerates, if you want to use that word. But I've been playing fantasy for probably 20 years. Burdick and I both usually take home a championship or two
A year.
every year. And yes, the chances are with us when we're 1 for 5 or 1 for 6, or with me 1 for 7. I tried to cut back this
I got a
offseason.
25% chance. I have 4 leagues. One of them is a friend league, which I still have yet to win. So I
Really?
can't say that I win that one.
What's the friendly one that you probably don't? It doesn't
Exactly.
even
That ones
matter.
are just fun.
But we're talking about money. Fantasy. We're big into fantasy sports. Personally, I've always wanted to get into a dynasty league.
Same.
We played dynasties, and whether it's Madden or WWE games or any sport games in general. But my brother, we had lunch Friday, and he sprung it on me. We're 2 or 3 weeks away from football. I'm like, dude, like I would like to know a couple months ahead, especially with the buy-in about double, triple of what I'm used to paying.
Yeah.
But he's my brother, so he tries to sell me on it as they're trying to fill in their league. So I'm used to regular good old PPR leagues, which are fun, and it doesn't take as much time. As long as you're watching football, you can kind of see who you're gonna want, what your holes are in your team, and looking into the schedule. On what I probably need another running back here this week because I have a bye coming up in 2 weeks or whatever. Everyone that plays fantasy understands how the PPR leagues is. But with this dynasty league, not only do you have to pretty much play GM, you have to sign contract deals. You have a certain salary cap with doll hairs that you pay this player. So to start off in this league, it's a 12-team league. We will start with a 5-round regular snake draft, like most drafts, for strictly rookies. And the rookies go directly into a 3-year with a 4-year option. So that's just like most rookie contracts. And they have a base salary depending on which round you get your rookies. So they have a salary cap cut out just for the rookies, and they immediately go into your practice squad. So your practice squad is just like a regular team. You can have a certain amount of slots, which I believe is 5 to start off, and then it'll move to 10 next year. So once you move that player off the practice squad, they can't return to the practice squad, whether you start them or not. So that's one of the rules. I was like, okay, well, that's a little different than what a real practice squad is. But once you move them off to your active roster, then you cannot place them back on the practice squad. Then on top of that, this regular draft for the rest of your team, you have a certain budget, but it's a silent draft that takes place throughout 2.5 weeks.
See, I don't like that.
And between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., there's no moves. So whether I get here at 4 a.m, like, with PPR leagues, I could look at the waivers and see, hey, I missed out on this receiver, but I could snag him before anyone,
so
wakes
I gotta
up.
wait 8 hours for Tim to make his pick.
And see, you don't know who else is bidding on these players. And this is like, it's got a major app that is a strict dynasty league, and it works on your phone, it works on the computer, whatever, but you have a certain budget and certain amount of players, certain rounds of this draft go on, throughout the week. I don't personally.
You're losing me with the draft right now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm not sold, but I talked to other people that play in dynasty leagues, and that's exactly how they do it. So you have 3-year deals, 4-year deals, and 5-year deals. You can certain players you can extend during the season.
Right.
You have a certain amount of money that is strictly for the next year. And in the trades, you can trade like a regular trade, but you can include up to 2 years of draft picks. It's just insane.
Don't get me wrong. I am intrigued. I am sure as some other fantasy football fans who don't play this are. I can't stand waiting 45 seconds for the next guy
Right.
to take their pick. I have to wait 8 hours.
Yes.
No,
not 8 hours.
No,
It's a full day.
No,
That's-
no.
That's how they do the drafts in
No.
dynasty leagues.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Neither
Just
do
get
I.
your draft done. Who cares? Like,
That's
why
what I
are you-
figured. Why would we do a silent draft?
And there's always somebody that's like, oh, I have to leave, so I'm going to wait to do my pick, which means you're waiting for the next 4 days because homeboy probably forgot about it.
Well, it's not your draft pick. It's just like an auction draft.
Oh.
So you're not waiting on anyone.
Oh.
But say, for example, Patrick Mahomes is out there and you bid $12.
See, I've never done an auction league either, so I have no idea.
So in an auction, as soon as you hit that, say $12 for Mahomes, the tick restarts for 8 hours.
Okay.
So once that 8 hours runs out, if you're still on the top, then you get them. If not, you come back on the app next time
So
you
it's
hit the
essentially
bathroom
eBay.
break. Yep,
You're
pretty much.
eBaying NFL players.
Exactly. You're eBaying your roster. So once the time runs out, if you're at the top, then you get it and it's subtracted from your salary cap. If not, it is a whole different world.
Who comes
It's a
up
whole
with
different
this?
fantasy world. I'm intrigued just because I'm a nerd when it comes to, when I got Madden, I wasn't jumping online to play somebody else. I was building my roster and building my team.
When I get Madden or MLB The Show, I'm not usually playing online first. I'm usually playing Dynasty, or I guess The Show. It's more of Road to the Show. Well, now that actually college football is incorporated with Madden now,
another world.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go back to doing that too, because that was one of my favorite things to do in Madden too.
But I will
agree
say
with you. I
the
get
money,
that point.
the money is there. I mean, the money is.
No, the money part I don't get. I
don't
get.
mind.
I don't mind that at all. It's more of just I'm sitting here waiting 8 hours.
I just don't know if I have the
Patrick Mahomes to
time to invest in that type of league when I'm playing 6 other fantasy leagues that, I mean, it just makes the regular PPR leagues we play just children play.
The only reason I want to try a dynasty league is because it is set up like a long-term thing where you don't go in every year with a brand new team. That intrigues me. Me picking Joe Burrow and having Joe Burrow for 5 years, whether he gets injured that year or not, I'm cool with that. I think that's a really cool idea. That's why I've always thought was interesting about fantasy football when in the dynasty league part of it all, right? But the auction league and all that type, or the auction draft and all that type of stuff, like you're losing me with that.
It's insane.
The IR spots I'm cool with. I actually have incorporated that in my leagues now.
But it still takes a part of your percentage of your contract, obviously, but it cuts down, like I believe it's 8% of the contract if he gets on the IR.
God, see, and depending on how much money you get to, and I'm reading because I was just curious about the free agency rules and stuff like that. You get bidding money for free agents too.
Yep.
So you have to bid on certain players, and it's not based on.
Well, once it clears on Wednesday, then you get everybody for.
Is it still a waiver wire thing though? So certain people on the waiver wire have certain
tops
access. Okay.
So the bottom league or the bottom of the league will get first dibs. But if you bid more with your free agent money, then you would get them.
Right. So it's like if I am dealing with the guy who's number 1 on the waiver wire, but he's only putting up $100 for this guy and I put up 6, I'm going to get him, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
but say, so-and-so goes down and they have a good backup. It's just insane. But I just wanted to hear from you or hear from listeners. If you've ever played in a dynasty league, either tell me to stay away from it or it's actually a whole new world type thing. Because I played fantasy, like I said, for decades and I enjoy it. But I just don't know.
My brother-in-law is in a dynasty
insane.
league, but he hasn't fully explained it like that. Like I have not gotten the whole skivvy of how it works. I'm still somewhat curious. But can we narrow down the draft, please?
Right.
Can we not have it be 8 hours a pick or whatever the heck it is?
So it gives me 3 pages of the outline of just the draft.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I don't even know how the scoring is. How many players do I have on the roster?
I would assume the scoring stays the same, right? It's
think,
PPR.
You would think,
or whatever the heck.
But the more I looked into the roster size, like I don't really care for. I can deal with flex players. But when they start adding super flex, it gets insane when you're starting 2 quarterbacks
You could start 2 quarterbacks.
There's a super flex spot,
Oh,
which I'm not a big fan of.
why would you start anything else? Like, if you have a super flex, you are obviously going to put a quarterback
Start
there.
2 quarters.
So have 2 quarterbacks in the league.
And I played in a league. It wasn't an auction league, or it actually was an auction league, but it was just regular PPR, one season at a time. But we did super flex, and with 12 teams, everybody's hoarding quarterbacks. So you're playing, a guy that has starting 2 quarterbacks, but he's got 2 on his bench. And if you do the math, there's only 32 teams, and you're playing with 12 teams, 24 quarterbacks, and the other guy has 3 quarterbacks on his bench. The other guy has 2. And then you get into, bye weeks and you don't have a quarterback to play that week. So it gets crazy.
This is just, again, maybe sticking to regular fantasy football
I'm
is more
starting
my
to-
speed.
I'm
I don't
starting to think
know.
the
This is
same.
starting to
Like,
get a
maybe
little
I'll
too-
just wait till the college football game comes out and play that.
I don't know. Hopefully that educated somebody else that's been kind of curious about dynasty leagues as well, because I am still somewhat curious, but maybe just playing dynasty mode on Madden is more
the
my speed, and
safest
playing
route
fantasy football
and
is the other route.
You can actually afford dinner after that.
Yeah,
So
no kidding.
we're going to take a break. We'll break down this deal with UFC. After last week, everyone was talking about Sunday Ticket and the Red Zone and wrapping up the week with WWE, all going to ESPN. Well, UFC has a new home. We'll talk about it right after this break. We are the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. This is the early bird special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m. 101.1 FM. As Sparky mentioned before the break, TKO and Paramount have reached a new 7-year deal for all UFC events in the U.S. to be broadcast on Paramount Plus starting in 2026, and it's going to be free. You will not have to pay for PLEs or pay-per-views. Or actually, no, yeah, I guess we would have to call these PLEs now because you're not paying for them. However, did we really just swap?
Oh, God.
Did TKO really just swap this in front of our eyes, 3-card Monty style, and say, "Hey, you have to pay $30 for WWE now, but you get UFC for free"? What? Okay, I'm not like. Don't get me wrong. Do not take my surprise as hatred or gripe for this. I'm all for this. This actually gives me a reason to keep Paramount Plus. If I'm being completely honest with you, besides South Park.
I just turned it off on Saturday.
I know. Because trust me, I have had that conversation with myself that I never watch Paramount Plus anymore. I did at first because there was a lot of old Nickelodeon stuff that I loved going down in like my childhood and all that type of stuff, plus South Park. So obviously it had to be there for a while. But I agree with you. For a while there, I was just like, it's just another service that I don't even use. So why am I going to keep it? TKO just gave me a reason. Starting in 2026, all of you UFC fans, it's going to become necessary because just like the WWE was for Peacock, I assume it's going to work like this for UFC, as they will get 13 marquee numbered events and 30 fight night premium streaming events on the platform starting when this deal begins in 2026. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal for TKO for exposure purposes. And it's a huge deal for Paramount because it keeps Paramount alive, to be completely honest with you. Now, I'm going to say this, though. For those of you who are Paramount Plus subscribers right now and know that it was, what, $11 a month? Something like that? $10, $11 a month?
Yeah, it's going up.
Oh, yeah. This is going to go up to about $15, $20 a month. I can promise you that.
If you're lucky.
I can promise you that. So it's a good thing if you're a UFC fan because obviously you're going to be getting your PLEs with this service. It's a bad thing if you're a Paramount Plus subscriber because that means that your bill just went up a good amount. Sorry, don't know exactly how to explain that.
$7.7 billion on a 7-year deal. I mean,
TKO knows what they're doing.
That's
baby.
awesome.
TKO knows what they're doing, how to make money. But here's my thing. You better allocate some of that money to the WWE so they could hand it over to some fucking wrestlers. Because I'm telling you right now. Okay, let's just get into it. Let's just get into it.
Perfectly.
Let's just get into it. Because at this point, if you're a wrestling fan, you know where we're going with this.
We want Cross.
Karrion Kross and Scarlett's contracts are up. They were up yesterday. They've been moved to the WWE alumni section of the website, which traditionally means the contract was not signed and they are moving on.
So is that what that means?
There have been long goodbye letters essentially from Scarlett and Karrion saying that they're done, the contracts are up. They never necessarily say they left though. They just said, we're excited for what's coming next. See you soon. That type of stuff. I'm going to throw this out there for wrestling fans. Maybe it's just some false hope. And regardless of what happens, I'm actually just happy. If you go to YouTube, you can see Karrion Kross's second part of his documentary that he made that actually takes you down this entire part of his life, of this contract dispute with the book happening, WWE promoting the book, everybody saying, oh, if they're promoting the book, obviously they're gonna keep him. They even went as far as to take that entire part of the interview that Sparky had mentioned earlier of Paul Heyman just giving every bit of the flowers to Karrion Kross for his work ethic and his ability to tell a story in the documentary. So it is up to date of what happened. So if you want to know what happened, go to YouTube. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long. I'm about halfway through it. It was very entertaining as much as I saw. However, I do believe that this is just another example of Triple H and the WWE blurring these lines of kayfabe. I think that this is all happening right in front of our faces. Because let me take you down a timeline that I think we all kind of forget about. Although there were situations of blow ups and stuff like that, that has now been shown, especially on WWE Unreal, that Karrion's blow up on Sam Roberts' podcast and all of that was actually part of the entire story. It's further explained in this documentary that that was asked of him, and he wanted to make sure everybody knew he was not unhappy with the company, that he loved working there for sure. This was just part of the act. I think they're taking this a step further because as we saw with the Seth Rollins thing with the injury and blurring the lines in real life, they're not exactly afraid to do that anymore. The internet is the perfect medium for the WWE because, like situations like the Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens fight, where they were hoping fans would see it and record it and put it out on social media and all that type of stuff,
They bit.
they are the perfect magicians when it comes to taking something that you love, dangling it in front of your face, and making you believe it's gone and bringing it right back. Was the first thing that happened when R-Truth left. The fans were in an uproar. What did they do? They took that money, allocated it, went right back to Ron Killings. Ron Killings is back in WWE. In fact, R-Truth is back in WWE as of Friday because now that John Cena is a good guy, apparently R-Truth is back to being his gullible, lovable self. Doesn't make any dang sense to me, but hey, that's wrestling. So we're back, I guess. But when it comes to Karrion Kross, I genuinely believe for you fans out there that are concerned about what's coming next, I could not care less if he comes back or not, though, to be honest with you, because I know if he and Scarlett do move on, they're going to do amazing work wherever they go, and you're going to be able to follow him as long as you follow his social media. I do kind of hope this is all a big storyline, though, that somehow gets Karrion Kross into some sort of title like figure up in the WWE, though.
And you think if he does, it was kind of my favorite part of the Heyman interview was, if they just gave him a title because everyone's chanting his name, then it takes away, the excitement and the actual story.
Right.
And I think that's where, you were the one that showed me in the beginning when I started watching again that Triple H is a king of the long run, the long story.
Well, I know we give Triple H credit for that a lot, but I think we need to give credit to the entire writing room and producers that put this together.
And which I'm sure we'll hear more from KG tomorrow when he rips them for something
for letting
else.
him go, I'm sure. But again, that's his thoughts. I'm sure there's a lot of people on the internet and listening to my voice right now that are wrestling fans that feel the same. I understand the frustration. I really do, especially when you see situations like this where the TKO board is getting an annual $1.1 billion for this entire Paramount Plus merger thing. It's a crazy amount of money that you think, okay, well, they should be able to use that money and turn around and pay these athletes to stay there, right? True, that happens sometimes, but also true that a lot of the times they kind of can't do that. That's not how business works. I just think that the way that this is going, especially from everything that we've read, there was a point where we had read they'd gotten the contract a couple weeks ago and they were about to sign it. Then there was something in the news that, oh no, they've never gotten the contracts. And then we heard about a week ago that they had gotten a contract and all of this was part of the work. So they could have just told us that already from the get-go.
Yeah, but
and explained it to us that all this is part of the story.
It's like Brock.
Exactly.
We didn't expect Brock, and they've been working with him for a month.
And that's the beauty of wrestling. Like it could be the case that this is all part of the story. And this is all just a big thing to make you believe that Karrion Kross and Scarlett are gone, when in all reality, they're probably just retooling for another run. So we'll see what we will see going forward. We got to take a break, though, one last time, pay some bills. We'll finish on the other side with some miscellaneous stories and get some text messages out of the way, give out some tickets to Brunch Fest here in Bakersfield. So listen out right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 1230 a.m., 101.1 FM. welcome back. Final segment of the day. Hope you have a good Monday. The week started off right. Eventually, we got to get back to those motivational Mondays and get you guys motivated and going, especially with football season here. Ready. Monday Night Football right around the corner.
Which I'll probably have to take a break off of Monday Night Raws. I just can't watch both of you. Can do it. I don't have time. Football always trumps it.
100%. Don't get me wrong. I will be watching both because I'm just a freak like that and I can pull it off. I don't know. I can usually just throw the football game up on the TV with Raw on my phone with, an earphone in my ear.
Well, I found a new YouTuber that recaps the TV events pretty well.
Nice. You want to shout him out or no?
No.
No.
I don't know him offhand, but
Got you.
we do. We got a couple of texts. We wanted to give away some more Brunch Fest tickets before you can even buy them, as the early bird tickets go on sale Wednesday, and it goes back into our conversation about athletes collecting their own gear.
Okay. What we got?
And the first one says, I would collect for myself because I invested in myself and my career instead of my collectibles.
That's a good way to look at it. You investing in your game and your actual progression in what you do, I guess, would warrant you at least wanting to benefit from that or see them as trophies, I guess. So I could see that.
The next one says, I would keep the stuff that means the most to me as an athlete, like a game ball on a random Tuesday, and then collect other players' jerseys and gear after.
See, that's what I would think, especially in the era of jersey swapping and stuff like that. I know they don't do it as much anymore, but that's how I would feel about it. Is I would go through and probably keep, like they said, the game balls or something. If I did something crazy during a game and then I played against one of my best friends, or they're one of my idols, obviously you want a jersey swap with them, but if they're okay with it.
The last one was going back to the Karrion Kross stuff. He said, I'm not a big fan of Karrion Kross, but I think it's a story, and I think the WWE has locked it in. Even with LFG's last episode, the cross, or the fans chanting Kross during a LFG event.
Shoot, I haven't watched that yet. Actually, I totally forgot that was last night. Every time they have a PLE, especially a 2-dayer, and it breaks off for a week for LFG, I just lose my track and forget to go watch it again. I will check that out tonight, though, and get back to you guys before KG's segment tomorrow. Unfortunate you are not a Karrion Kross fan. I'm sure it's just not your kind of bag when it comes to wrestling. Personally, I love him. I think he's a fantastic wrestler and a fantastic storyteller. And I was very, very happy to hear while listening to his documentary that he has interest in becoming a producer afterwards. So I'm like, yes, my entire idea of what would happen after his career is coming true. And we're going to get some crazy stories in WWE when he becomes a writer. Because, oh my God, could you imagine him? I know the Wyatt Six are already going to be gone and by that time, but we're talking about a guy who was supposed to be part of that group. I'm telling you, go watch this docuseries, because Bray had this entire plan that Karrion talks about of him and Scarlett pretty much having a secondary Wyatt family on the other show that he ran. And it was actually going to be a pseudo judgment day. It was going to be a group that would go after people based on stuff they did in the past, and you would be judged based on, what you were doing, if you're a heel or a face, a good or a bad, like whatever the case may be. So like, I'm telling you, like, this dude had great ideas, still does have great ideas. That's why I genuinely believe, and I'm seeing here on Reddit as well, as soon as you type in his name, that I'm not the only one that's believing this, that it's a growing idea around the internet right now. This is all a work, and that it's all part of WWE's plan. I kind of hope it is. Because if we continue blurring this line of kayfabe, can you imagine the stories we can get back to if people start having that veil of disbelief within wrestling? Because that's essentially what they're trying to recreate here. Is they're trying to recreate your ability to see them as Seth Rollins, not Colby. You know what I mean? Like you see Roman Reigns, not Joe Anoa'i. That's what they're trying to do right now, and it's working. So it's going to be interesting what they can get going.
And we watched Weapons yesterday, and
yes,
one of the one I liked it. It's a considering I like scary horror type movies, I think this was one of the better ones this year since a lot of them have really fell short, in my opinion.
Did you see Sinners as a horror movie?
Not really,
I didn't either.
but I loved Sinners.
Oh,
That
I
was
did
a
too,
great
but
movie.
that's the only one everybody keeps saying is the best horror movie of the year. And I'm like, I would think of that as more of a thriller,
Yeah, more of a zombie thriller type movie, but
action movie than a horror movie. But I see why it would be horror, obviously.
well, Saturday, or during that movie, the trailers, which I'm enjoying it because now that movie theaters have told people if the movie starts at 6:30, the movie starts at 7,
Mhm.
and they are definitely including more trailers in these
Mhm.
movies.
Or at least
And
the AMC over here is.
not only yes, and that's where we went, but not only that, but they finally starting to pump up the Him movie. So I got to see a deeper trailer with that. That is going to be a great movie, I think. And two, and that Him movie reminds me of like a 13 Ghosts
Mhm.
type movie, which was one of my favorites. But they're starting to pump up that UFC movie with The Rock. And
Mhm.
this trailer was much deeper, and it gets into like the CTE, the steroids, and the beginning of UFC before it was actually banned from fighting. But one of the things is I finally got to finish season 1 of Peacemaker, which is one of my favorites. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but Cena's grown on me so much, and Eagly is one of my favorite characters I've seen.
Do you see now why though? I personally see John Cena as the greatest wrestler turned actor.
Yes.
He has become the best at acting.
If it's not The Rock.
Well, The Rock is the most successful, right? But if you really look at every one of The Rock's movies, he's the same guy.
Well, I think
he's
this
him.
UFC one's gonna change that.
Yeah, no, the Brian Kerr story is going to be great. I can't wait to watch Smashing Machine. If you don't know the story, I don't have enough time to break it down for you, but he's one of the first major UFC names. Go check out his story, and this movie is going to be really, really well done. Him and Emily Blunt, I think, are going to be great working out this entire story between him and his wife. But
yeah, when I see
when
The
it
Rock,
comes
I
to
usually think
movies-
of Moana, and it's those movies that stick
Well,
to
not
you.
even just that. I think of The Rundown. I think of Jumanji. I think of he's just the big, broody like hero
Lovable
type
guy.
that's there to kick ass and take names. You know what I mean? Like that's what The Rock is. John Cena and Dave Bautista, also, I have to throw his name in there a little bit, have been able to kind of like just reinvent themselves as different people. John Cena is a hilarious comedic actor.
Yes.
And honestly, I growing up would never have thought he was this funny. And he is fantastic. And same with Dave Bautista, who's become a fantastic dramatic actor. I think, though, that John Cena in his career, when all of this is said and done and all of his movies have caught up to The Rock's, he might be more successful if he can get the movies going more in his way.
Well, Raw is live from Green Bay, Wisconsin tonight. We'll see Sammy and Rusev, Maxine versus Becky, and the main event tonight is my girl Io taking on Naomi for the title, which I would love for her to get the title back, but I just don't see it.
Nope. I'm assuming Rhea's going to get in the middle of that at some point, and we're probably going to get an interference with Stephanie's match at Clash of Paris too in a couple weeks, which sucks. But there's a story of brewing. We just got to sit here and wait and see how it all ends up. At this point, though, we got to get out of here and get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9 a.m. as always. KG joining us to break down Raw. Sparky, let's get out of here.